And I want your white listeners to understand. Because people be trying to say stuff like, he's the black. I'm not the black. I am in no way interested in hurting or harming the life of any human, white, Asian, Chinese. I believe in respecting everybody. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm against interracial marriage, Envy and Charlemagne, is because marriage is an economic contract. It's an economic contract. Most women do not marry down in status. They marry up. And if you don't believe me, show me a rich white woman married to a broke-ass black man.
Who's she? Who is she? Look at her. Look at her trying to grab his nuts. Look at her. Hop on, who this woman? Caleb Williams, who went number 1. Now old-fashioned you goes to the gym.
For those of you who feel that you must repudiate my insistence on an African family first line of racial development, let me ask you a question.
An African first racial line of development. But if the white man comes out and says that I want a Caucasian first racial line of development, I don't want to hear anybody boo-hoo whine and complain and talk about white supremacy, right? I'm just saying, if this guy can say it, why can't the white man come out here to advocate that, hey, only whites should mix with themselves, okay? I'm just saying.
Okay, so there's a difference between being conservative and just pandering to white people.
Oh, yeah, Didi got a podcast.
So for any of you out there that may feel like being a black person and also being conservative means that you automatically hate black people or you automatically just want to appease to white people, I don't agree with that, right? And I think this video will be proof that there's a difference, right? Because I have a lot of conservative perspectives, but I'm somebody that absolutely loves the black community and want to see the black community thrive. But I also hold us responsible and accountable for our own actions and the things that we can control. There's a difference. Now, I'm going to show you a person that I personally believe is anti-black in a lot of ways, and he just panders to white people because he understands that majority of his audience is white people, and he's a much bigger channel than I am. There's this guy by the name of Black Conservative Perspective. That's literally what his channel is called. The topic is interracial dating, and I want you to take a listen to what he said.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about one of the most pathetic meltdowns that we tend to see every year during the NFL draft by internet weirdos like, for example, Dr. Umar Johnson, who, in my opinion, is a black supremacist, okay? And he openly says things that would not be acceptable if it came from a white person. They would say that, hey, you are a white supremacist. And when it comes to this conversation about the NFL draft and these NFL players, a lot of whom are black, who tend to choose to be with white women, this is exactly what I'm talking about, because this weirdo is going to have a full-blown meltdown over the fact that you have black players choosing to have white girlfriends. Now, again, I think that this is weird, okay? I think it's weird to be obsessed with who somebody chooses to be with from a racial perspective, right? It's not something that I think about, okay? I don't look at a black person and go, oh my God, he got a white girlfriend. He must be damaging the gene pool, right? That's not what I ever think about, okay?
Wait, just real quick. So it's weird to be obsessed with who it is that people choose to date. Now, what's my perspective on that? I personally feel like people should be able to date whoever they want. If you love that person, if you like that person, if you're interested in that person, and you're choosing to date them on your own will, I say date them. Start a family with whoever you want. But you are absolutely lying and out of your mind if you listen to the reasons that Dr. Umar Johnson says what he says and call him a weirdo for that.
Who you marry tells me who you are. When you marry a woman, you don't just marry her. You marry her culture. You marry her community. You marry her people. You understand? So when a black man marries a white woman, he's making several clear points and messages he's sending out to his own people. Because there's no greater symbol of your loyalty to your struggle than to marry a sister who shares that struggle. Loving European Jews do it.
Arabs do it, Chinese do it, East. We're the only people who feel anxious and ambivalent about telling our black boys that you better love and marry a black woman.
Dr. Umar Johnson says that there are economic benefits and a slew of other benefits when you dating your own race, right? Especially you're talking about the most economically distressed community in the country, that being the black community, right? We are last in pretty much every category. So Dr. Umar's position, or one of his biggest positions, is when you date in your own race and you build together, it helps the community.
Let me ask you a question, Dr. Umar. Are you totally against interracial relationships?
I am totally against it, and I want to make sure you understand why. And I want your white listeners to understand, because people be trying to say stuff like, he's the black. I'm not the black. I am in no way interested in hurting or harming the life of any human, white, Asian, Chinese. I believe in respecting everybody. The reason I'm against interracial marriage, Envy and Charlemagne, is because marriage is an economic contract. It's an economic contract. Most women do not marry down in status. They marry up. And if you don't believe me, show me a rich white woman married to a broke-ass black man. Have you ever seen a rich white woman marry a broke-ass black man? No, you have not, and you never will. Because marriage ain't about love, it's not colorblind, and it is totally economic. So if marriage is an economic unification and a contract, how can we, who don't have enough already, give so much to the white woman and to white people who have already taken too much, when we got all these black women out here who will never get married? Only 1 out of every 4 black women in America will ever taste marriage, and half of them who taste marriage will be divorced within 5 years. If you want to save the black family, you have to protect it.
Right? And so this is a very fair point that you notice already he hasn't acknowledged. When you look at a majority of our professional athletes who, yes, they're a small percentage of our community, but nonetheless, when you look at it every year, year in and year out, it's very interesting that you always see black men dating white women. Yes, you have black athletes that date black women as well, but you also have a percentage of them that tend to date, especially the biggest and the most popular ones, that always date non-black women. That's facts, right? But he's not acknowledging that. It's a fact that when you look at our community, bro, you rarely ever see white men dating black women. That's facts, right? It's a very, very small percentage of them where that happens. But when you look at black athletes, it's a much higher percentage. Why is that? It's not wrong to ask that question.
And I never get upset with a black woman who dates a white man. I'm just like, well, I mean, if they're in love, if they're happy, hey, it is what it is. It's none of my business, right? But with that being said, I want to be clear. I don't have a problem with people who have a personal belief that it is in the best interest of their race to not intermingle, right? I don't have a problem if you have that opinion. I also don't like the double standard where black people can openly come out and chastise other black people who choose to date outside of their race, specifically black men who choose to date white women, because we know that the soul sisters, okay, in the Simps, like this guy right here, Umar Johnson, they have no issues when black women choose to date a white man. They're silent, right? They actually really praise that, okay?
Just a flat out lie. Is this the best you got, bro? Like, you're about to get annihilated in this video, man. You're just simply lying. Dr. Umar Johnson has a problem when anybody in the so-called black community dates outside of the black community, period. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. He calls it out on both sides. What are you talking about? You just flat out made it up. Now, you have a point when you say, like, women aren't as vocal when it's a black woman dating a white man. I agree with you that a lot of times in our community, women a lot of times praise that, but Dr. Umar Johnson doesn't. You're lying. But here's the biggest point that he still hasn't answered. Why is it? Why is that the case? Why is it that you almost never see it in the white community? That's the question. That's a fair question. What's your freaking answer, bro? You're deflecting, right? Now, before we get back to the video, my ex, if you made it this far, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. I really, really appreciate you for being here. Now, let's get back to what this man talking about.
But if a black man chooses to date a white woman, like an NFL player dating a white woman, they lose their minds, okay? But again, if a white man complains at all about the white woman deciding to date a black man, he's smeared as a racist, okay? And a white supremacist and, you know, a Klansman or whatever. But this guy right here, again, he sounds like a black supremacist if you listen to this guy talk. when it comes to his reaction to
Tim's offensive lineman of the year in 2023.
Who's she?
Look at the excitement.
Who is she? Look at her. Look at her trying to grab his nuts. Look at her.
He was
How about who this woman?
Caleb Williams, who went number 1. Now, what will fashion you goes to the gym?
For those of you who feel that you must repudiate my insistence on an African family first line of racial development, let me ask you a question.
an African first racial line of development. Now, again, if he wants to hold this opinion, fine. But if the white man comes out and says that I want a Caucasian first racial line of development, I don't want to hear anybody boo-hoo whine and complain and talk about white supremacy, right? I'm just saying, if this guy can say it, why can't the white man come out here to advocate that, hey, only whites should mix with themselves, okay? I'm just saying, that's my biggest problem. My biggest problem is the double standard. That's my biggest problem.
But you're trying to mischaracterize and exaggerate the double standards here, right? Again, when Dr. Umar Johnson is talking about it, he points out the reasons why he says the things that he's saying, and it's because of how bad the black community is doing, right? How the black community has very little and always tends to go elsewhere and take our resources elsewhere instead of building in our own community. But you're ignoring that fact. Instead, you want to focus on just trying to defend. Why can't white people say that? Why is that even important to you? Why is that even a big deal? Sure, it's a double standard. But again, when you look at the reasonings why Dr. Umar Johnson says some of the things that he says, not all of the things, but some of the things that he's saying, it's a legit reason, bro.
Let me ask you Negropeans a question. How many white billionaires do you know have chosen to make a black woman their baby mama? I'm just asking a question. See, you take issue with the King Kong of consciousness, so let's flip it one time. You take issue with the King Kong of consciousness. Let's flip it. How many white billionaires have chosen to make a black woman their baby mama?
Well, listen, this is not something I'm obsessed with, so I had to Google it. But George Lucas is a white male billionaire, and his wife is black, right?
Really? Really, bro? First of all, you don't have to be obsessed with this topic to know the answers to these things. Second of all, George Lucas has he's a white man billionaire who has a black wife. All right, name another, I don't know, I wouldn't even say a high number. Just name another 5 white billionaires that's married to a black person. You won't find it. You Googled and found one man and ran with the narrative. First of all, if you look at all the billionaires in the world, or at least all the documented billionaires in the world, how many of them are married to black women? Right? How many of them are married to white women? You look at Tiger Woods, enough said. When you look at Michael Jordan, okay, sure, Michael Jordan, the mother of his children is black. I'll give you that. Look at the other women that he's been involved with. Exactly. Jay-Z, married to a black woman. You got that. Kanye West, enough said. Right? And you got the other man from BT, I forget, it's a couple other billionaires. They're both married to white women. It's a fair assessment, bro. What are you talking about? You name one person, and that's the best you got? That's embarrassing. The point that Dr. Umar Johnson is making is fair.
His wife is black, which, by the way, I find it fascinating that this guy uses the phrase baby mama, which tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. His mindset is very immature and childish because, the framing really should be, well, how many white billionaires have chose to make a black woman his wife? But again, because his mindset is in the ghetto, right? He says baby mama, which I think is a derogatory term, okay, to use to refer to a woman, right? The goal is not to be a baby mama. The goal is to be a mother or to be a wife.
First of all, you're being a hypocrite because a lot of you all may not follow this guy's channel, but a lot of his videos is bashing the black community. It's calling the black community degenerate. It's calling it ghetto. It's calling it underdeveloped. It's calling it ratchet. All the stereotypical terms, right? That's the point that Dr. Umar Johnson is acknowledging. He's acknowledging that marriage is not a priority in the black community. So that's why he's saying how many white billionaires have black baby mamas, because that's the priority in the black community more times than not. That's why. It's not because his mind is in the ghetto. It's because he's being realistic, which is the very point that you make on your channel, right? And you just said the goal should not be to be a baby mama. The goal should be to be a mother or to be a wife. First of all, a baby mama is a mother. You just contradicted yourself, bro. Yes, the goal should be a wife. But the very point that you make on your channel is the same point that Dr. Umar Johnson is making, which is that's not a priority in the black community. And I would also agree that baby mama is a derogatory term. And that's the exact reason why Dr. Umar, but you know that. You watch enough Dr. Umar Johnson videos to know what he meant by that. Which goes to show that you was just trying to pander to white people in this video because you understand what the bottom line is, which is to get paid from these YouTube videos to pander to your audience, which is majority white people. Again, my thoughts on interracial dating: date who you want, love who you want, and I truly mean that, and I support that. But also acknowledge the fact that this man made great points, and it's hard to refute the facts. When you date inside your race, regardless of what your race is, which, by the way, Dr. Umar makes the same point for every race. He says that Asians, whites, right? He makes the point for everyone, Hispanics. Everyone should date within their ethnic group, their racial group, their cultural group, right? Because it best benefits the community. Hop in the comment section and give me your thoughts on what you think about interracial dating. What do you think about this video? Dr. Umar Johnson, this black conservative perspective guy whose name is Greg Foreman, who sounds like a boxer, actually. It sounds like he owns a grill. But it's funny, like he was very disingenuous in this video. In my opinion, I think he was pandering to white people, which is it's a difference between being conservative and doing what this guy's doing. Hop in the comment section and give me your thoughts, man. Until next time. Peace.
Oh, yeah, Diddy got a podcast.